How the University was born. For thousands of years, people have gathered in communities centered around teaching and learning. The early church formed schools to train Christians in philosophy and theology. One of the most famous early schools was in Alexandria and was led by the church fathers Clement and Origen. These schools are sometimes referred to as universities, but universities as we know them did not begin until the Middle Ages. In many ways, the story begins with Emperor Charlemagne, 742 to 814, who made education a priority of his empire. The social reforms he began had such lasting effects that we call his reign the Carolingian Renaissance. With his support, many new monasteries were formed to train monks about the Bible. He hired scholars to teach at these monasteries. Some cathedrals also started schools. It was natural to find monks wherever a school was founded. One of the major contributions of these schools are the biblical manuscripts they copied in beautiful calligraphy. Because the printing press had not yet been invented, they had to copy books by hand. Today, we still have many of these pages, some with ornate color illustrations. These are known as illuminated manuscripts. Education has always been a privilege of the wealthy, but the educational reforms of Charlemagne created opportunities for the less fortunate. When the poorest families could not afford to feed their children, they could give their sons to the monasteries. The monks would provide food and shelter for the boys and teach them how to read and copy books. The cathedral and monastery schools provided a basic education in literature and school doctrine, but advanced training in other disciplines was needed too. A medical school was founded in Salerno. A law school in Bologna came under the protection of Emperor Friedrich Barbarossa in 1158 and was later recognized as a formal university. By 1200, the university in Paris had become the center for teaching logic and theology. It was here that famous theologians like Thomas Aquinas, 1225 to 1274, earned their reputations. Later in the century, universities in Oxford and Cambridge were modeled after the Paris School. Soon there were universities in Prague, Vienna, Cologne, and in Muslim territories. The average university student was much younger than today. Children were educated at home until they were about 14. Then the brighter boys were sent to the university for further studies. Girls were not allowed to attend university. Most of them married. Some decided not to marry and instead dedicated themselves to the service of the church, joining convents or monasteries for women. They ate and slept in the convents, continued their studies there, and spent their days praying, feeding the poor, and nursing sick people. As bachelors in the universities, the boys studied 7 subjects. The first 3, called the trivium, were grammar, rhetoric, and logic. These subjects prepared students for advanced studies in the quadrivium of arithmetic, geometry, music, and astronomy. Then they studied philosophy, theology, or medicine. When they completed their studies, they were given the title of master, which gave them the right to teach in the university. If they chose to continue their education, they earned the title doctor. Today, we recognize similar levels of education by granting bachelor's degrees, master's degrees, and doctoral degrees. The Middle Ages are often called the Dark Ages. an unfortunate nickname that suggests people were barbaric, uneducated, and superstitious. But the birth of universities and the development of illuminated manuscripts proves that education and the arts were alive and well during the medieval period.